Hello everyone, my name is Bhavna Singh. I am working as an assistant professor at St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management, Gurgaon. This is an online tutorial on software engineering. So let's begin with today's session. Students, this is our lecture number 12 and in today's session we will cover all these topics of Unit 3, that is what is software metrics and its categories, what is a token count, Halstead theory of software science, what are various design metrics and its types, and what is data structure metrics with its various types. So let's begin today's lecture with the first topic, that is what is a software metrics. Software metric is a quantitative measure of the degree to which a system or component or process possesses a given attribute. And these software metrics are quantifiable measures that could be used to measure different characteristics of a software system or the software development process. That means these software metrics, they are a kind of a measurement, or they are used to measure different characteristics that a particular software system possess, or these are also used to measure the different characteristics or different properties of the software development process. And these are used for many reasons, because they help in measuring the software performance, or they will measure the planning work items, or they will be measure the productivity of this system, and what will the reliability. So all these things, they are measured with the help of this software metrics, and therefore it is a very much important activity in case of a software development process. And apart from only providing the measurement about various properties or various attributes, it also helps to improve the overall process of the development of software and its products, and it also helps in improving all aspects of the management and of that particular process. So therefore we use the software metrics during the development of design, and it provides all the quantitative checks, all the qualitative checks on the software design. Now these software metrics, they are categorized into different types. Like they are used for product metrics, they are process metrics, project metrics, quality metrics, complexity metrics, and size metrics. Because what happens in a development process of a software, we talk about many things, like we talk about the product, we talk about the process and the project, what will be the quality that we are developing a software product, or what will be the complexity of the particular product, and what will be the size. So all these things, they are measured with the help of these software metrics, and with the help of these we'll talk about each one of them in detail. The first one, let's talk about product metrics. Product metrics, these are used to describe the various characteristics of a product that we are developing, the software product that we are developing. Like it describes the size, the complexity, what will be the performance, what will be the reliability, efficiency, what will be the design features of that particular product. So all these characteristics, they are about the product, are described by this product metrics. Then the second, we have the process metrics. This process metrics is used to measure the overall process or overall effectiveness and quality of the entire process that is used to produce the software product. Then the next, we have the project metrics. Project metrics, when we talk about project, it encompasses all the things, including the product, including the process, including all the activities. So this project metrics, it describes the overall project characteristics and how it will be executed. So all these things, they are described with the help of this project metrics. Then the next, we have the quality metrics. Quality metrics means it defines the overall quality of a product, and if there are any defects, then what will the causes of these defects, and what will be the consequences, what is the intensity of the severity, and how many number of defects are found in the development process, and how these defects will be debugged, or how these defects will be removed, what is the causes of these defects. So all these things are that are related to the quality of a product, these are described with the help of this quality metrics. Then the next, we have the complexity metrics, which is used to measure the complexity of the program, as well as it is also used to measure the complexity of various modules that combine together to form a particular program. And with the help of using the flow graphs, or with the help of TFT, we will use these complexity metrics in order to find out the complexity of the entire program. And then at the end we have the size matrix. Size matrix means which is used to describe the overall size of a particular product. And there are two techniques that are used to find out the size of a particular product, that is lines of code and the function point. And both of these techniques we have already discussed, that lines of code is denoted by the number of instructions that are present inside a single code or single source code, you can say. And function point is used to measure the functionality from the user's point of view. So all these metrics that we have discussed so far, like product, process, project, all these are used in the development process, and these are used to measure various kinds of or you can say various properties, various characteristics of the development process. Now next we will talk about what is a token count. Tokens are classified as either operators or operands. A program is considered to be series of tokens, and if we count the number of tokens. And all software science measures, they are functions of the counts of these tokens. That means whenever we talk about a source program, or whenever we talk about a single program inside that is written in any computer language like C, C++, so all these operators that are used inside that source program, and all these operands that are used, for example, we are using any variables like a, b, and we are using any operators like plus, minus, multiplication, division, and even we are using any constants or even labels. All these things, they are considered as tokens that we use inside a source program. So in short, we can also say that a computer program which we write in any programming languages, it is a collection of tokens. On these tokens, they can either be operators or either be operands. And when we talk about the size of the vocabulary of a program, that means when we talk about the overall size of a program, that it consists of a number of unique tokens to build a program, that is n equal to n1 plus n2. In this, n means the overall size of a program, that is the vocabulary of a program, and n1 is the number of unique operators, that means whatever operators we are using like plus, minus, and n2 is the number of unique operands. Operands means a, b, any variable, any constant, these are the operands. So this vocabulary of a program, it consists of all the operands and all the operators that are present inside a source program or inside a computer program. Now we will discuss the Halstead theory of software science. This Halstead theory of software science, it was introduced in 1977 by M.H. Halstead, and according to Halstead, he said that a computer program is an implementation of an algorithm considered to be a collection of tokens which can be classified as either operators or operands. That means according to Halstead, whatever program we write in any of the programming languages, or the entire source code or the entire computer program is a collection of tokens, and tokens means it's a collection of operators and operands, and with the help of these operators and operands, he will be able to estimate the techniques, various techniques you can say, or the complexity measures or the complexity metrics that will determine the complexity directly from these operators and operands that are present inside the source code. And he'll be able to find out the size and type, time and effort for the software development process based on these operators and operands only. So basically we can also say that this Halstead theory of software science is based upon the counts of operators and operands, and it is based on the interpreting the entire source code as a sequence of tokens, like as a sequence of operators and operands, and then we classify each token to be as a operator or a operand. And with the help of these tokens only, we will be able to find out the entire size, the time and efforts that is required to develop a particular software, and the complexities also can be find out directly from these tokens, like from these operators and operands, or you can say directly from the source code. Now these are the parameters that are used in the Halstead theory of software science, and sometimes they are asked in the question form in the examination, like calculate the program volume, or calculate the program vocabulary, or calculate the program size. So all these numericals you can find out based on these formulas only. Just you have to remember these parameters and their meanings, and as well as their formulas in order to calculate all the program length, program volume, effort to implement, time to implement a software product program. So on the basis of these formulas only you will be able to find out the numerical part. So let us understand each of these parameter with their meaning. In this first table you can see that small n1 is the number of unique operators. That means number of unique operators means number of plus, minus or any symbols or any calculation symbols like plus, minus, multiplication, division. How many operators are there in the source code. Then the second we have the small n2 is number of unique operands. That means whatever variables and whatever constants are used inside the source code. Then the capital N1 is the number of total occurrence of operators. That means how many times the plus symbol or how many times the minus symbol have occurred inside the source program. Then the capital N2 is the number of total occurrence of operands. That means when we talk about a single variable, let's say we are talking about A or we are talking about a variable B, then how many times that particular variable has occurred inside the source program, that is the N2 or that is the number of total occurrence of operands. So and then we will, in the second table you can see that each of the vocabulary, size, volume have the particular formula, and these formulas are used to calculate the program length, program volume, what will the efforts, what will be the testing time. So all these things that we can be able to calculate with the help of these formulas only. Suppose in the exam you are asked that calculate the size of the vocabulary or calculate the number program vocabulary. So in that case you will be given the values of small n and small n2, and in that case you have to just add n1 and n2 and you will get the vocabulary. Similarly you will get the program size by adding both the capital N1 and capital N2. So with the help of all these formulas you can be able to find out the numerical part, but just you have to remember these formulas. Now this Halstead theory of software science has certain pros and cons with it. Like first we will discuss about the advantages. Advantages means it does not require in-depth and controlled flow analysis of program. That means we are not doing any in-depth or we are not analyzing any flow graph or any DFD. We are just calculating the entire size or calculating the efforts and complexity based on the number of tokens that are present inside the source code, and you can also say that number of operators and operands that are present inside the source code. Then it predicts effort and time and rate of error. With the help of these tokens only we will be able to find out the efforts and how much time will be required and what will be the rate of error occurring in the development process. Then it predicts it predicts size also of the program, and it is simple to calculate because we are not doing any in-depth analysis and we are not doing any rocket science calculations in this. We are just using or we are just counting the number of operators and operands. So it is very much simple to calculate. Then it measures the overall quality of a programs, and it can be used for any programming languages because every programming language is using the operators and operands, and every programming languages is using the tokens. So it can be applied for any programming languages and it can be used for any of the programming languages. Then we will talk about the disadvantages. First one is it depends on usage of operators and operands in completed code. That means we cannot use this Halstead theory in the initial phases of the development because at that time the overall operators and operands are not written in the completed stage. Then the second, it has no use in predicting complexity of program at design level. That means it is not used at the initial levels of the designing, where because in the designing phase we are only creating the blueprint, or you can say we are only creating the architecture of the entire software program. So this can be used whenever in the implementation, or you can say after writing the code or after converting these designing into the implementation or into the coding. So only after implementation only we can use this Halstead theory, because in that implementation part it can be applied to coding only, because on the basis of source code only we'll be able to find out the token count. Now comes the next topic, that is what is a design matrix. Software metrics used during the development of design provide quantitative checks on software design. And measuring various design attributes is useful not only in predicting faults but also in comparing two designs. That means with the help of these design metrics we are able to estimate the complexity at the design level, and we are able to measure the software design, or we are able to measure the number of errors that can occur by comparing two or more designs whenever we have some alternative designing solutions for a particular problem. So in short, we can also say that this design metrics, they are used by the designers or by the computer engineers in order to determine the better design amongst the various solutions that they have prepared for a single problem. And it also help us to compare two designs, that which design will be better as compared to the other in terms of reliability, in terms of performance, in terms of quality. So at the designing level, it is providing a quantitative checks on these particular software design that are prepared by the you can say the developers or the software engineers. Now basically we have two types of design metrics. The first one is the architectural design metrics and the second one is the component level design metrics. So let's first discuss about the architectural design metrics. This architectural design metrics, it focuses on the architecture, or you can see the characteristics of the program. That means whatever with the architecture that we have prepared at the designing level, it is used to measure the effectiveness of different modules or components within that architecture, and it is more focus is on the architectural structure, that how the blueprint is prepared or how the entire architecture is prepared. We are use this design metrics are used at that level. So at the architecture level, we calculate the overall complexity of the design that we have prepared, or overall complexity of the architecture that the developers have prepared with the help of these three formulas. That is, we calculate structural complexity, we calculate data complexity, and the overall system complexity. In the structural complexity, we use this formula which tells us about the architecture, or which tells about the various complexity of the modules or the components that are used inside the architecture. Then in the data complexity, it provides the indication of the overall complexity in internal interface of a module, and it is defined by this formula, where it is also defined, this data complexity also defines that how many number of inputs and output variables are passed from a particular module. So all these things, or all these number of inputs and outputs and variables, they are used to calculate the overall data complexity. Then in case of system complexity, we calculate the entire system complexity by combining both the structural complexity as well as the data complexity. That means whatever values we got in structural complexity and whatever values we get in data complexity, we combine both these values in order to get the system complexity. The second type of design matrix is the component level design matrix. And this component level design matrix, it focuses on the internal characteristics of a software component. That means whenever we have described, or whenever we have developed the architecture of a particular software, then we know that this architecture is made up of various components, or the various modules, you can say. So in this component level, we describe the entire characteristics of each of the module that is used inside the particular product. And in this we calculate the entire cohesion, coupling, and complexity of each module or each unit, you can say. And these are cohesion, as we have already discussed about the cohesion and coupling in the previous sessions also, that cohesion means that how these elements that are present inside a single module, how these elements are interconnected, or how these elements are attached to one another. So and in case of coupling, we have discussed that this coupling occurs between two modules, and it also tells about the interdependency between these modules. And complexity means it is used to predict the critical information about that what will be the reliability and maintainability of a particular software system, and how the structure will be complex enough. So in case of cohesion and coupling, the cohesion should be high and the coupling should be low for a good program design. Now comes the next topic, that is what is a data structure matrix. The set of metrics that measures the amount of data input to, processed in and output from software are called data structure metrics. That means these data structure metrics are used to measure the overall input that we are providing to a particular system, and how these inputs are processed inside that particular system, and what will be the output that we are receiving from that particular system. So all these measurements are we can measure with the help of these data structure metrics, that is the number of input, processing and the number of output that we are getting. Overall it is represented by the data structure matrix. And in order to calculate the amount of all the data that we are providing to a particular system, we have different types of data structure metrics. Like first one is the amount of data, second is the usage of data, and the third one is program weakness. So we will discuss about each one of them in detail in the coming slides one by one. So the first type is the amount of data. Most compilers and assemblers can generate a cross-reference list indicating the line where a certain variable is declared and the line or lines where it is referenced, and such list helps determining the amount of data in the program. One method for determining the amount of data is to count the number of entries in the cross-reference list. That means one way to determine that how much data is used inside the system, we prepare a cross-reference list, or most of the compilers or assemblers that are the translators, they prepare a cross-reference list, and in that reference list they mention that all the lines where the variable is declared and all the lines where that particular variable is referenced. And at the end what they do, they count the entire number of entries that are present in that cross reference list. And for measuring the entire amount of data, we have different metrics for calculating these. That for example, we calculate the number of variables that are present in the program, then we calculate the number of operands that are used in the program, then we calculate the total number of occurrence of these variables. So number of variables, number of operands, how much time these operands are occurring inside the source program, all these things they are counted and they are mentioned in the cross reference list. And at the end the compiler, they count the entire list and tells the count of the amount of data. So this is how, by counting all the variables and all the operands and their occurrence, we are able to calculate the amount of data that we have input to the system. Then comes the second type of this data structure matrix, that is the how much data is used within a module, that is the usage of data within a single module. To compute intra-module data usage, the metrics like live variables and variable spans are used. That means we are able to compute that how much time or how much data is used within a single module. Intra-module means single module. How much data is used within a single module, we are able to determine it with the help of these metrics like live variables and variable spans. So first discuss what is a live variable. A live variable is considered live from its first to the last reference within a module, including all statements between the first and the last statement where the variable is referenced. That means in this case of live variables, we are determining that how much time the variable was live. That means we are determining all these statements within a single module, starting from the first statement to the last statement. We are calculating all these statements in which the particular variable is referenced inside that particular module. So the live variable are, we can declare it within the from the first statement to the last statement, and also how many times that variable is referenced from last between these statements, between all these first and last statement. Then the second, we have the variable span. Variable span is the number of statements between two successive uses of a variable. means what is the range of that particular variable that is referenced between two successive statements. And it can be also considered a complexity measures. And in for example, if we have a single module, if we have a n number of statements, then there are n minus 1 spans for that particular variables, and because of these variables we will be able to measure the complexity of the program also, because the larger the span will be and the more complex the module will be. So because of this live variable, we are able to determine the entire amount of data that is used within the module, and we will easily compute it by analyzing the module code. And in case of variable span, we will be able to determine the complexity of the entire module, where the larger the span, the more complex the system will be. Now comes the third type, that is program weakness. The weakness of a module helps to estimate the testability and maintainability. If weakness of a module is more, testability will be greater, and vice versa. A weaker module will be more difficult to maintain. That means with the help of this program weakness, we will be able to determine the relative consistency of a particular program, and how much efforts will be required to develop that program, and how much debugging tools will be required to debug all the errors that have come inside the program. So if the module is more weaker, then we are required to do more and more testing on that particular module, and it will require a more maintenance of that particular module. So it becomes a very much difficult to maintain a weaker module. Students, these are the questions that can be framed based on today's session. The first one is, explain Halstead theory of software science with its advantages and disadvantages. You have to explain how this theory has helped to determine the effort, size, program volume, and all those formulas that we have discussed in the today's session. So you have to explain all these with their advantages and disadvantages. Then the second, you have to differentiate between design metrics and data structure metrics. And you have to also explain what are the various types of design metrics and what are the various data structure metrics. These questions are important from the examination point of view also, so it is important for you all to prepare these questions. So students, now it's time to end this session here only. I hope you have understood all the concepts well. In the next session, we will continue with the implementation and coding style of a software product. Till then, you all take care of yourselves and keep learning. Thank you so much for watching.